ESL presents ESL Challenger League in partnership with Intel, Acer Predator, DHL,
Welcome in, everybody. We are getting into the South American ECL Cup number 3 here for season 51. Very much looking forward to getting into it. Been a while since I've checked in, you know, the jungles of Brazil, the plains of Argentina, but we are down here, of course, for some lower bracket action. Going to be myself, Scrib, and Naokai on this one. And yeah, looking forward to getting into it. You know, there's always a lot of changes in this region. Some recognizable names for me, but maybe not quite within these squads and whatnot, and I think certainly a pretty big cup, as they always are. You know, that coveted spot at Pro League is just worth its weight in gold for teams in this region.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, kind of where this cup is in particular, I think it's quite similar to what we've got in towards EU, where you don't actually have a lot of the strongest teams because they're actually all either abroad currently playing LANs, which is actually quite a common thing at the moment. A lot of them are out in kind of places like Bucharest and whatnot, and teams who would be potentially vying for this spot, or either made it for the first 2 cups, in Bucharest, as we mentioned, or there's a lot of other lands that have been going on because of this kind of late push for qualification to the major and whatnot. So there's some really decent openings for a lesser known side to book their spot in towards those South American finals at the tail end of the year. Here's the prize pool though. First place, 8 grand for them, 17.5k in total is the prize pool for this one. But money's a secondary thing here. It's really about this spot in towards the cup and then having the chance to make your way towards Pro League. That's the real thing that they are fighting for. We can bring up the bracket as well to see where we're at, what's been going on as well. I checked in yesterday, and as I was doing the LP game, which honestly looked okay. You know, LP versus Fake Tubiru, FDB, as we kind of like colloquially kind of called them. LP picked up a loss there, of course, why they've dropped in towards this lower bracket. The really rough thing is the fact that in this lower bracket is ShindeN. ShindeN forfeited a match earlier in the season because they were away at a LAN, if I'm right in saying. I was speaking to Annie about it. So they forfeited their first game of this sort of opening round. That's really unfortunate that basically ShindeN ended up being in this lower bracket, because kind of since then, ShindeN have absolutely coasted through. They've had no real issues at all. And realistically, ShindeN, despite being in the lower bracket, are still the favourites for this cup as well. They're a side who are very, very solid. There are a couple of tiers, I'd probably say above, a lot of the teams around them. And yeah, LP have got a really tough time of it as well. So we'll have to see. But here in the upper bracket, got Unomil and Fake Tubiru, of course, on the back of their wins yesterday. Unomil in particular can be kind of spicy. Fake Tubiru actually looked pretty good yesterday. They had a couple of decent players that are definitely worth keeping an eye out for. But ultimately, it feels kind of not guaranteed, but it's very, very highly likely that joining them soonish at some point will be ShindeN. So it's for teams in the upper bracket, it's just prolonging the inevitable about meeting this side.
Yeah, no, that is fair. And I think, you know, it tends to be a pretty top-heavy kind of region. I think, again, another cup that is potentially just affected by this like mad VRS rush for a few of the bigger teams and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, all the same, a pretty decent game on the cards here as well, and I think that we'll be keeping a keen eye on ShindeN if they can just continue to clean up house, you know, in this lower bracket side of things, as you know, a relatively clean matchup against R2, but there's still an overtime in there, you know, so it's like the games are a little more challenging potentially. They also had a forfeit go their way, so I think sure they'll come in as a favorite, but they just have to be careful, and it can definitely happen sometimes for like the, you know, tier 2 South American teams that just maybe a bit overconfident, you know, and they end up getting upset in like a really long kind of matchup. So I think certainly you might argue as well on the top side that's sort of what happened there. So yeah, I'll definitely have my confidence in them, but I am always just having a little caveat at the bottom of the page, as it were, on these types of matchups. And certainly could be the case here. I think, once we get breaking into the veto for this one, it'll be pretty interesting because both of them have the same permaban, and I think that, they might end up on a couple of maps that look comfortable. We'll get that going in just a second. We've got the head-to-head, I believe, ready to just kind of give a real highlight of what these two teams are mainly about, and that is, again, those individuals, those names that are able to take over a map and just, have really, really strong fragging prowess.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Lacardos Pelados side. Again,
LP sounds good to me.
LP sounds good. I did look it up yesterday. Funnily enough, this Lagardos Pelados name did make me laugh. It's actually based off a show that you might have even heard of. The name is essentially translates to Naked and Afraid, which is like a TV show where people get kind of like dropped in like the forest somewhere, or like the jungle, I guess more aptly, and they got to survive. Right, that's what this name is. Okay. Apparently. It's essentially what we would call the TV show. It's on HBO, whatever. Essentially called Naked and Afraid. That's essentially what it is. But when looking at the side, there's a few people that are worth keeping an eye on, especially from that game I saw yesterday. I thought Allison looked really, really good when he's given opportunities. I mean, he is basically the superstar of the side. So unbelievably puggy. As Annie put it in the pre-show for yesterday's game, he is kind of like the South Americans call to a donk in a way. Relentlessly aggressive. Overly aggressive at times, but very, very solid. I thought the ZMB also looked really good yesterday too, so definitely worth keeping an eye out for. On the flip side though, the ShindeN side, there is a lot to like here. Basically, everybody can have their moments. Naz, a man with a lot of experience, somebody I've casted a bunch of times, even at RMRs. Guti as well, another guy who can really, really step up when he's called to, and Tommy Jed as well. Those three are kind of the big names, but honestly, all five of these guys kind of really, really good game when they're kind of called upon. So this is kind of worrying thing is there's just so much firepower to fall back on. We have a head-to-head as well to bring you, before heading into this game, a couple of people that we're going to be keeping an eye out for, and I've already mentioned both of them, Naz and Allison. Allison, relentlessly aggressive. Naz I wanted to bring up because he's not actually the highest rated on the side. He's just a little bit below Tomajet, but Naz has a lot of experience too. He's played in a variety of different teams, and he's been at times a bit of a superstar on previous rosters and put up really, really good numbers. So definitely a guy worth keeping an eye out for. Mechanically very, very solid, but lots of experience too.
Yeah, I mean, moving quite quickly as well, right? Like, it comes from Bestia, which is a bit of a, infamous team, unfortunately, in their history. But he's immediately, moving into this team, picked up. So there's obviously a lot of projects going on within the Argentinian scene. We do have the veto rolling through here, as apparently we're also quickly getting into the action in just a few moments. So we'll go over this. Ancient, I think, is that first map going to be a pretty interesting one. But as I said, there was a lot of options in terms of that veto and where it could end up. The Mirage, LP not pushovers on it. And then Inferno as the decider as well is a little bit of a difficult one to split. You'd argue either team could have picked into that even. So, yeah, curious to see how things are going to pan out here given the veto. Is there any way that, you're just heavy on the ShindeN, or is there maybe any way that LP might be able to get back in?
There's definitely a way, but I think it requires this kind of nuclear performance from Allison to really have a chance for me. He mechanically can kind of go toe to toe, but at times he can be a little bit of sort of a one-man army. And I think, the issue that I saw even kind of from yesterday, first time I got to kind of cast Allison, he's, I think, at times overly aggressive, and it can cost a lot of space. And something I said to Paladin yesterday when we were casting him is that, I think, when you're at the level that they were kind of at yesterday, there's two slightly mixier sides, you can get away with that, but you come against a proper team and you will get punished for that. There's very, very few players who can be as aggressive as him. Essentially, Donk is one of the few that we get at the top level. Flame's another one as well, who they're so good, and they can get away with being hyper aggressive. Allison, his hyper aggression, I feel like a decent side will end up punishing that, and maybe ShindeN decided to do that. So I'm going to lean 2-0 to ShindeN. I just feel like I've seen enough from the side, even from that one best of 3 from LP, where I just feel like against a decently formulated side, against a more mixy team, that's where it could end up being kind of crazy, basically. But because I think ShindeN are so well reserved, they've got a lot in terms of, decent strats and decent calling and experience and all the rest, I I feel like this should be fine for me, but we'll have to see. But up until this point as well, there've been some decent wins under their belt. Of course, Crashes are not a bad side by any means. Taking them down is pretty decent. They did lose to Fluxo 2-0, but I'd say expected. It's kind of a, really shows about how top heavy the scene can be. And Fluxo, of course, are definitely towards the upper end of the South American scene.
Yeah, it maybe feels like, LP just need a little bit of the right pieces to fall into place at the right sort of time within a given map, and like you say, the slightly better teams are just going to know what they're all about, and sure, it might be tough, but they can at least, maneuver around. And we're even seeing at the top level, Spirit get a little bit figured out because they are putting too much on Donk, I think. The ShindeN side of things, though, of course, looking also pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, the Imperial win there and, into Pain and things. There's a few decent games and results, and they get a map off of Pain. You don't expect them to win there, but the fact they're able to get a map, and it's a pretty decisive map, actually. Yeah, I think ShindeN could be one to watch for the near future, even. And this cup is a great place, and then the regional final, and then that's beyond. So we'll see, but we are into the action here, of course, as the pistol getting underway.
Yeah. I have quite high expectations for ShindeN. I was speaking to Paladin yesterday, obviously very in the know about this scene. He was mentioning that he thinks ShindeN quite cleanly go through this lower bracket into the kind of the final in the end, and they should be fine. Bomb gonna go down. Bomb has been planted. Nice and early here, which actually is not a terrible spot to be in. Odd retake, but oh, ZMB. He had a really decent game yesterday. Nice couple of shots.
Tap on the bomb. And try and draw them out here. I mean, 2 sets of Julies in the kit. You feel like should be enough to get through all of this, but the shots just not landing. Allison will get caught reloading. Maybe not quite enough done yet. And they needed to take him down for sure. And they do just that. But man, those Julies not finding anything is kind of wild, honestly. Pretty keen start coming in for LP. And I think ShindeN will be kicking themselves. It looked like a good retake on the cards. They just didn't find anything.
Yeah, exactly. I could start things off. And for LP, I will say, again, especially from kind of covering them yesterday, they do their best work on T-side. I think when you allow somebody like an Allison to free roam and CMB to kind of feel comfortable, they can do a lot of great work just by nature of their mechanics, and it bails them out in a lot of situations. But it's always going to be about depth. I think it's always going to be the kind of the question mark with a team like this. Either way, decent start. Do get some pistols brought to play here by the CT side. Is that force buy very common for the region?
Slow take in towards middle. Ground for LP available. Again, as you might expect in a buy like this, but I don't know about what they do with it. There's a player with eyes on. He's got smoke as well. So going to slow them down massively. They've maybe walked into a small trap. It's not a very dangerous trap, but all the same, they have been read pretty well here. I don't know, it just depends. The Deagle on the other side of it, I think, has to be weary and might not expect, 4 Ts ready to go, ready to fight. It does look like the CTs, though, are ready for the scrap themselves. 30 seconds on the cards, and that Deagle set up nicely. However, it's the supporting cast that maybe lets him down a little bit. There's still a 5-7 on the site itself, though, and just not loads of time. Steps coming in from behind, trying to draw them away, and yeah, they both chime in at the same time. Man alive. Just read it beautifully. Wow. And they win out the force buy. That is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, that is such a good response coming through from ShindeN. And maybe potentially the open of the floodgates a little bit, which is the real worry, I think, in a game like this, is you give the momentum to a side like ShindeN, and they'll start completely running away with things. Great work. Of course, you have to force fire back in for the Tita. You don't really get a choice here. You're in double eco. Fantastic work. No complaints about that one, then. again, for LP, like, it feels like there's quite a natural ceiling with this side. Still don't know exactly how high it gets, but this surely is too tall an order just because of how strong ShindeN are, not only in the mechanics, which a lot of teams in this region sort of rely on, but also in terms of like the strats. Like, it feels, and you'll kind of see as this game goes on, like, it feels much mixier, much puggier. ShindeN have kind of both.
Sure, I mean, this is one of the things, isn't it? Just being able, with the scene in general, being able to add that extra layer just to fall back on. It seems to be the way they prefer not to play Counter-Strike, but
yeah,
you have to kind of be capable of it when it's needed. I think that just goes, you know, the Brazilian team for like the past decade.
Nice nade.
There's good damage. They're going to force the bomb plant here. Not going to get away with it, unfortunately. Maybe a kill or two on the cards. Just the one. So well held. And ShindeN deny even the plant, which I think was primarily what they were after.
Oh. No buy for this one, and should be a pretty easy third to be put on the board. Be huge for ShindeN as well. Start off this veto and the series with your opponent's map under your belt. Mirage obviously is one that, you know, we're not going to shy away from LP. It's a map they'll know very well. They play a hell of a lot as well, but can they play it to the same level? It's the big thing. We're having a little looking towards ramp. It's a massacre. All 5-4. Beautiful stuff.
Alrighty, this is what they were leaning into, though, trying to get the AKs out. And indeed, we'll see LP their map pick here. And a really difficult force buy loss to stomach.
Yeah.
So going to have to try and turn things around really, really quick. And we'll see. It definitely does. Alongside Inferno, it sits up towards the top end of their map pool. Kind of interesting. You know, they go, I guess, for the reps argument. Not wanting to test the Inferno on the pick, but you're going to have to make Ancient work if that's the case, because the rest of the veto looks pretty scary. They're on a crazy streak at the moment in terms of wins. And maybe that'll continue here, as they have broken into the A-bomb site once again, and in pretty good stead. Catching the defenders off guard massively.
Well, the remaining 3 are ShindeN. You don't get any sort of a look in here. It will just be a pretty simple call. Keep hold of what you've got, and they're far enough away that they should be able to save. No bother. Nice little response, though. Back in towards your first gun round, and making it stick flawlessly. Quick dive in towards the A site. Does that. Tommy just come out the gate swinging, though. Can't find that much in that round, but generally speaking, it's good to see him looking confident. Like, he is such an important, integral part. The ShindeN side, but maybe a bit of a shock to the system with how simple that is for LP. Good work. I've kind of said it as well with this LP side. Like, we just don't really know. I don't know what to expect from them. Like, Jibiru, like, they were also another puggy team, and they just got out-pugged, essentially, but maybe against a more structured side where they can read into them and they, like, a bit of anti-strat, a bit of prep. Like, it might actually lend a hand to them and might lean into this side a little bit where they can shock them a bit more often, because ShindeN, you know, are used to a bit more structure, and this is very loose how LP like to play.
IVZ holding here. Ready for the boost up if it comes. Not going to be the case. Just a little nade set from him to keep them at bay for now. And you see ShindeN already on the rotates. The slant smoke is not good enough here, folks. I don't know if he blocked it. but it's giving him a gap. It really is workable. On this slant angle, bit too workable as he swings around for more, but he's slowed them down. He's put the fear in them, sets up the rifles on the site itself to just keep the kills coming. Lovely flow of bloodshed as ZMB is going to be left to just back away and attempt to save. He's got plenty of cash, so the no loss bonus won't affect him, but ShindeN with a good response. It does come off of a slightly logistical error, though.
Only 15 seconds, ZMB. He'll be fine here. He's nowhere near any of the action. This is AK stays in play. They can't buy around it, which is kind of the main thing. He's saving, but they didn't have a lot to work with. That's where this would be a little more damning, but yeah, not the case here. So, save comes through. As you mentioned, nice response from ShindeN. Feels ultimately like a bit of a simple round. And this is kind of like that back and forth of where I think ShindeN are quite quick to react, but like I said, like Fate to Biru yesterday, they were a little bit slow to realize kind of the tempo changes that LP like to throw in. ShindeN will be so ready for a lot of these.
Yeah. Just maybe like that set of protocols, really. I think they go as far as like learning the basic utility and good communication and whatnot. But a lot of the teams rely on their instincts and just maybe have to change what those instincts are.
Yeah.
This is one of those times. Flash comes in. Should have been a kill. One more bullet would have made it. Just doesn't quite happen. But you see the examples from ShindeN starting to appear now.
That's a lot of damage. There's Arson. I catch something on the spam. It was quiet, and this is, at least yesterday, we saw it kind of against Fate to Biru, like, with this LP side, when they're forced to play a tempo that's not really theirs, they do look a little bit more uncomfortable. So I wonder, in spots like this, what's the kind of idea of how to react?
Utility again, as they execute in towards B here. As we saw, that slam smoke just wasn't quite good enough last time out.
Yeah.
On top, pretty good here, though. And, man, Tommy Jed just really unsure of what was awaiting him on the site, but then they go pushing through the smoke now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
easy.
maybe it comes in a good time. It would have made the bomb plant a little squeaky, but it goes down there about 13, 14 seconds. I think you could have lined up better, maybe got a flash going if you wanted to burst through it. But they were like, oh, there's 25 seconds left. We got to run in and get the bomb plant. We're not going to win. But yeah, it just falls apart there, guys.
Yeah, they make it easy for them, right? They dive through the smoke is too simple, and the util is just so ineffective in trying to pop them forward through it. And you can't kind of convert rounds like that against sort of a side as strong as ShindeN. Yes, Tomajet falls, but it's not going to make them really struggle in any sense. Like, they can plug those gaps so quickly. Five to two. Quite quickly a substantial lead here with the CT side. Considering that the money is rough, they actually do go for that force. But it's only 2 rifles to fall back on, and another round that you just assume should be an easy one. All things considered, for ShindeN. On towards mid. Oh, Tomajet with the spam. Beautiful. Unfortunate, but you take it all the same.
Traded into the A-bomb site. The molly comes in to just slow the roll. They maybe had found a way back into the round and on that bomb site, but the molly comes in, slows them down, and they actually completely give it up, which is quick and hard to predict. So a nice find here from Leo Monster. He's on the tight angle, looking for a bit more, but he's not fast enough. The trades, though, look very good indeed. Naz nowhere near. He will get himself in the right spot, though. Advanced in cave. If he keeps going, could cut this bomb off. They're not the healthiest. And these angles, man, they're sharp edges, straight lines. You know, if you don't clear it nicely, you set yourself up for a double spray down. But he's going to keep on going. Gets one. Still a decent belt of utility here. Smoke comes in, down to the one-on-one. Forces the full rotate. Again, the instincts, this is what we're talking about. You know, not wasting any time. He's like, okay, not happening. I'm going A. They had the same sort of deal when they got mollied in A main. And that kind of thing is throwing ShindeN off a little.
It is. Slightly more unorthodox. Fine. It's 1 versus 1. Naz will only just realize now. Long rotate for him, and Divine's actually going to meet him. And they win it out. Beautiful stuff. Very aggressive there to play up close, but I love it. Again, it's just not something that ShindeN are really expecting. So, good round of response, especially considering the buy that they brought. You know, we kind of critiqued it a little bit, just saying, like, with this force, like, it's... If that round falls apart, it's ShindeN finding a 6th, probably a 7th as well. And then at that point, like, this first half's in a lot of trouble. That's kept them in arm's reach, kept them in a doable spot.
Quick rush in towards B here, not wasting any time at all. The flick is not fast enough and put under a lot of pressure. Guti's in a good spot to try and trade in. He gets smoked off and he gets pushed down while he's reloading. Trade is going to be obvious, but still complete. 3 versus 2. On plank comes in. Know about 1. They just don't know about this last man, but how much is that going to affect things? Look to kind of... Ooh, maybe look to save with that smoke, actually. Yeah, they are going to save. Money's not great. Makes sense. Not fancying their chances on the retake, so... The brute force and the brute force does eventually work out. One of the more clean rounds coming through for LP.
Yeah, I'll say that. 3 staying alive is pretty huge as well. Really sweet for that. T-side econ. Which, only a mere couple of rounds ago, was actually in a bit of trouble.
Terrorists win.
One round game. Bit of a save that comes through. A couple remaining from ShindeN, but you can see the knock-on effect in towards this buy here. MP9 and FAMAS have to be brought to the table. Really decent chance to tie things up here against the, I guess, rebuy back in, but an uncomfortable one at that.
Quite late aggression in towards mid here. Try and mix things up. No one ahead of that smoke. And LP are just so far back right now, considering 40 seconds gone in the round. Taking this slowly, and it looks like they want to re-aggress towards middle. Curious to see how that goes for them. Yeah, Guti's in a good spot. And he does have support from Tommy Jed here. So it looks pretty set that you're not getting in. That's 3 smokes, to be fair, at elbow. And they've just put a lot of resources into trying to retake that area.
Yeah, I think at this point, off the initial kill as well, and the util comes down, you just completely reset the round. You have to. It's quiet. 44 seconds on the clock. It's a great angle. It's a great angle here. It's so... With not a lot of time on the clock, it's such a horrible one to clear. He doesn't peek. He actually lands on the boost. Oh my god, how does he lose that?
That is kind of awful. Really egregious. And you see what happens. The scale up now as Divine is feeling himself. Oh my goodness. The 3-piece is so clean. Grootty left to clutch up here. 1 or 2 on the cards for sure. As he drops the Madman on the AWP. He's got 3 more to get through. No information. Does have a kit. It's about all he's got working for him. Surely takes the peek here and immediately dealt with. That is the case. So it comes up even after a really strong start for ShindeN. Thinking that they were, okay, just going to pick this up and continue winning. They have let things really slip through their fingers.
How has that round slipped as well? Letting that one fumble is absolutely going to hurt. It's that kill on the boost player. That's the one that has to be taken. And the fact that it's not. Credit to LP. ShindeN are broken. I'm going to say for the last.
Oh. 5-7. Ooh, I thought maybe he was about to go crazy, of course.
I love the idea of going in for a seconds there, though.
Yeah. What else are you going to do, you know? Just, you might as well on this kind of a bite. Yeah, you cast your mind back to the start of this half. Not going to get that, though, unfortunately. I was hoping for more crazy force buy. Well, low buy shenanigans here. Just doesn't pan out. They learned their lesson from the last time. Looking good. Looking good as they've really fought back. Pretty unpredictable in some of these rounds, and they are leaning on a couple names. Leo Monster struggling to get on that board with just the 1 kill, but all the same, the rest of the cast looking good. And I don't know what's happened to ShindeN, bro. They were looking very nice, but it does seem they have become flustered in a lot of these rounds with just the way that LP have been running rings around them.
Yeah. Falling off a bit of a cliff here. Fun around if they can tie it up. 6-all on your opponent's map pick wouldn't be too bad. Leo Monster will go down. Only 1 and 10 for him at the half. It's a struggle performance. He had a rough performance at times yesterday too. Molly will be blocked. It bounces forward. Did see Divine playing well. I think yesterday for a large part of that series, he was pretty ineffective on the AWP.
Yeah.
But a round like that is actually really good for your confidence.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe felt it as well, you know. When you have a bad day, you would hope that a pro is able to be like, okay, damn, the mechanics just, I need to get warmed up before this game maybe, or in the right headspace. Just obviously looking to improve game on game. And seems to have done that a little. You know, it's a hero round. Maybe a bit quiet before it, to be fair. Keep him humble, I guess. But, yeah, looking like a B hit here. ShindeN about as ready as they can be with the 3 players on the site. Whoa, man, a risky move, but he just absolutely flattens them. That is freight train in towards Jaguar there. Perfect timing on it, of course, and might just have done enough. They've completely lost the plot in this final round of the first half. Looking very, very good. ShindeN, super, super clean, as I think things are, you know, in a pretty good spot on that recovery. And very interested to see how things are going to pan out into the second half, in all honesty. I think there's just so much potential for LP to keep this one going into half 2.
Welcome back in. Second half about to get underway, and just saying kind of there in the halftime break, honestly, a closer game than I initially expected, but quite a few squandered opportunities, I think, is sort of one of the main talking points for ShindeN. Who had a chance of really piling on the pressure. One or two mistakes not made, and they could have been taking a lead here towards the second half. So LP, credit to them. They're actually doing a really decent job at the moment, but I still feel like this is ShindeN at like 75%.
Yeah, no, it is true. It is true. I mean, we see it a lot, don't we? Teams get onto the T side. Maybe they're not sure how their opponent plays and whatnot on their own T side. And when they get the chance to show off, I suppose, they generally look a lot more comfortable. Yep. So we'll see if that is the case here. Hap in a pretty good spot as this utility starts coming over. You know what, the Molotov might have bounced a bit funny there. Or maybe not intended for him overall. He's looking to play the long game on this one. They have not checked him to line up nicely. Does get traded. I mean, the numbers are even. So maybe not going to be enough. The rest of his teammates just don't seem to be contributing very much. 3 versus 2. Julian spamming away, but unfortunately not able to find anything. And the Glocks will get it done. So ShindeN, it looked dangerous. It did, but he's the only one that gets any kills there hidden away at the back end of the site.
Yeah, and credit to them for reacting as well as they do, because I think they assume that Molly would have spread enough. It's meant for the big box anyway, but generally you can kind of throw one which also catches, you know what you call that, boost box, but yeah, not to be. And this is kind of the worry that I had. You know, I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier until that first off. I do feel like LP do a lot of their best work on the T side. The CT side yesterday is where they got exposed quite a bit. And is that going to be the case here? Once again, of course, it's sort of started off like that. Tap, up close, leg spotted. He'll do well for his first. And his second, okay. Shutting down the A presence.
Man, these force buys are just so good, aren't they, from both sides, really? Smoke comes out. The head was close. I mean, he landed bullets. I don't know how it's not a headshot, honestly. But either way, an attempt made, and it just kind of continues giving the game and position away. Flash goes in. It's not a bad one, but there's 2 in donuts set up and ready. Feels pretty difficult to get through. Ooh, it's low HP. Scooty is lucky to be alive. Maybe has done enough. Meanwhile, they're going to leave him on the island over there. And the bomb itself is headed towards B. I'd love to see Guti just scale up. But he's hanging about. And he will get dropped easily. And that maybe gives the game away of what's going on, right? So the B-bomb site actually has 2 players on it where they might not expect them. The nade is insanely late. But, like I say, they didn't expect another man. And Allison has an easy 2-piece on his hands there to even up this scoreline and win the force buy.
Huge one to take back as well. Tie this thing up, but also financially put ShindeN in a horrible spot, as you can kind of see with what little of a buy they're going to be having in towards this next round. Really nice response that comes through. It all starts with that FAMAS as well, doing so well to kind of kickstart the round and shut down the A aggression, and from there everything scales in. Pretty lovely.
Yeah, looking good to hold onto it as well.
Surely not done with the opening too.
Yeah, just completely clapping them out in towards lane. Flawless round coming in. I mean, ShindeN really not good signs now. And they're just in that position of, like, being kept under the cosh. You know, money terrible, kills not coming in, bomb plant not coming in. Out on the AKs in the next round, but it's going to be problematic here. Very problematic indeed. We shall find out. I think it is safe to say. Just the one flash. Big plans for that flash, I would imagine. It is decent to kick us off, but yeah, we'll see. They're just so ready for that kind of a play. The bomb tries and fails to get out on a... Fine, I'll keep it clean. There's not a single player going down, so... LP put themselves in a very, very good spot now, and I think ShindeN have to be winning this round, or the map will swing the way of that LP side.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. It does feel like time is of the essence now for them. Get any sort of chance into this. They've got to make this gun round work. It's technically a bonus by the other side. Of course, there's, you know, million play, a couple of them. Let's see. Tommy Jan will open up proceedings.
Ooh. Dangerous inside this smoke. And he knows it. Drops back a little. Still feeling confident. And just totally broken up here with Naz being so far ahead of the rest of the pack. Could really catch him off guard. Not going to be the case, though. It goes the other way. And Allison lives it, despite being left incredibly low after that fight. I think a quick dink from the Galil didn't find the kill, but set him up for one. He lives to tell the tale, however, and could get another kill here, potentially. I'm going to go down. Break open. Almost unsuccessful. The HP bars are so low here for LP. You just figure that it can't happen. Down goes Allison. Divine to save.
He will. He's long gone. Definitely the right call to make. There's just no point. Even though some of that damage is confirmed damage, I just don't think it's really worthwhile. It'll be okay. They are slightly in that direction, but they themselves also just making sure that they're nowhere near the radius of the C4. We said that was a must-win round. And they get it. Now, the hope is with that you can start building. Of course, there is going to be that response to come back in. Around what was saved. That was technically a bonus buy, so we're not too upset with how it all fell apart. Goes in towards mid. He'll take elbow control really quickly here. And a 1 point trade to open up proceedings. Here, Monster. Getting quickly, but he'll be traded out. God, they've got to be careful about this guy boosted up his Allison. He can't confirm the kill. The flash will catch him. The issue is, though, you don't want your low player fighting. Thankfully, he'll get dropped, but Divine's still here, causing problems. He gets a second before he drops.
Just gaps everywhere in this, man. They did get an execute out, but they just don't have the space to follow up on it. Slowed down, distracted by fights at the back end of lane. And this is, again, just sort of one of the things. Like, the executes are there. They're not quite perfected. They're not quite confident. You know, you'd want to have a player at the front of all these smokes going in so that they can keep the pressure on with the smokes, but they're kind of a little dry if there's just no threat behind them. Will be a timeout to come in from ShindeN. They're feeling it. Maybe, you know, similar to us, thinking this would be a much easier ride, that they are just the better team, and it's that simple, and they really are starting to pay the price for that kind of a mindset.
Two ahead, three away now, and back into that lesser bite. ShindeN are in trouble, but LP are playing great. They've got such a good understanding at the moment. And I was worried that this quite hyper-aggressive position would put you in a spot where you get punished against that, like ShindeN, but no. Just not able mechanically to keep up. Homage looked pretty solid. Naz as well, two of the guys that we highlighted.
Yeah. Feels like the pieces are in the right place, but...
Yeah.
Strategically quite dry here. And, you know, maybe this is why LP pick into it. As we say, the low reps. And maybe they've seen a problem with the game in the sense that it's like, we can outplay them. We might not be able to outshoot them, but, you know, we can work better as a team and we know the map better. Most of their matchups have just been wasting away, as it were. Just playing lesser teams. Divine to open up. Ooh, misses out. Second time of asking. Allison here, but traded. Tomajed's going crazy on the Tech 9 right now. Maybe, yeah, ZMB is scared of something coming behind. Like, they really are lacking info.
Wow.
Divine just so quick with it, though. He's feeling really, really confident, and rightfully so. Keeps them in the conversation here, but I don't know, ZMB, he's really weary of something in towards middle, so they're going to be pressed for time. Going in for this retake, honestly. They will have the kit. There's no smoke for the donut angle. Naz is fully going to be left alone, however. Not even a trade, so surely you feel tap onto the bomb. He goes a little early. He goes a little ahead of it. He can't get in. ZMB to take him down, and a brilliant 2-on-3 at the hands of Divine goes the way of LP.
He's on a fantastic map, Divine. Real credit to him. Again, I reiterate, like yesterday, he was struggling massively, not looking comfortable at all, and this is a lot more like it. So happy to take fight. That is such a quick shot. That one making out of tempo. If he loses that fight, they lose the round. No two ways about it. Probably the last hurrah here for ShindeN. You lose this round and that's it. It doesn't start well. Leo Monster. Morgan hits his 4th kill of the map, but an important one.
Oh, little bump inside the smoke. Allison, hearing all these footsteps, got a choice in terms of where he wants to go, and kind of picks the wrong way. Mid does logically feel a bit more dangerous. Could be a lot more players out there, but yeah, it just doesn't work in his favor. So big finds from ShindeN here. It's Divine on the AWP, man. Ever present. Simple one for him on the timing. Does miss out on the Tech 9, though. The trusty sidearm here that he's picked up. Thanks to the previous round, you just see they're really not confident to give him the fights. It will work out, confusing him by omission, by where they're coming in from, where's the repeak. And rightfully so, because he's had a monstrous couple of rounds. Going to be down to ZMB in the clutch. Can he pull this off? He knows about the AWP on site, but it's as soon as he tries to cross in, he's just weary of a crossfire or an unchecked angle. Would be correct. Oh! No way! Abyss!
Oh, man.
Bro, what are we doing? What are we doing? Just randomly jumping up to try and get a different angle, even though he kind of already had a good angle. That is wild. And then I would imagine, through frustration, his comm is a little late. That's just crazy. How does he ever get away with that, bro?
Yeah, terrible round to kind of let slip through, but with where we're at, 12-8, you'd say surely unlosable from a spot like this. There's 3 Galils for ShindeN. They've been outclassed in this game. And it all started okay in towards Ancient. It was the argument we were making at the halfway point was, you know, a couple of rounds had gone different, it would have been a different story. But in hindsight, it's obviously not made that much of a difference at all. Opening double will come through. When Naz falls, you'd assume it's all but done here. Tomajed going to try and bail them out as best he can. And he gets one. Towards Red Room. Divine will be forced back by the molly.
Hap. Ready for something to come his way. Small aggression towards A main is quite clever from him. Gaining some ground and information for them to fall back on if they need it. ZMB starting to move over, so they're pretty ready for the A hit. Namely the A retake. That's the big thing. Flash is good. Tom and Jed going to have a look. Abyss has actually dipped out. So it's a 2-on-2. It would have been a 3-on-2. A pretty doable one, but things have changed, which is certainly a shame for ShindeN. Let's see if they can still convert this.
Fine holding crack angle for him. Just hoping he gets a fight from Donut. For now, he won't unless he makes the move. And I think with already a bit of a soft save from Allison here, they're giving this one up. We'll stick around for some sort of exits. I don't think either of them are really going to fight here. I feel like you just go out and towards A main and mid, and with how far away Divine is because of the bomb radius. Oh, never mind. There's a pop shot taken on towards him. It's fine. Everyone will survive. You stay alive for now, ShindeN, but still a lot more required. Got a pause here, it seems. No timer. It might be more of a tech pause, though. Yeah. We've lost one on towards ShindeN. That's never a good sign.
He just kind of fell out in the middle of the round, it looked like. So.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of... Maybe I wasn't super explicit about it, but yeah, that is what happened. So, still kind of wild that ShindeN come away with that round. And, yeah, a little bit of a timeout, connection issue type thing, but I think we should be all good by the sounds of it in just a moment or two. So, yeah, they are lucky to get away with that one, honestly.
We'll just wait. Let's get back in, but still, despite only being 3 rounds, it's quite a long road to recovery. However, you win this next round here with finding all 5 on towards LP, and in all fairness, then from a spot like that, money broken, there's a chance you could push it to OT. We already had plenty of OTs from our EU game earlier today, so I think I'll pass, but nonetheless, should only be a minute or so before we get back underway, we hope, for what potentially could even be just be the final round of play.
Yeah, hopefully not waiting too long. I mean, just when you felt like things were maybe working out, find that important round. Hey, the tech just comes straight after, and it's a legit one. It's a fair one. You know, I'm sure everyone's got theories out there about where the tech pauses come from, you know, or whatever. Definitely back in the day, players were getting away with a lot more than they do now. Though,
yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah, but still 3 more rounds. Still a lot of hard work for ShindeN, I think, to get this one going, and I just feel that they're really not as confident on this map, and it all tracks for me in the sense that, you know, ShindeN just play like a few lesser teams. They do have a close one against MIBR, which I think is nothing to really, and a lot of their wins have like gone to overtime and whatnot. So, you know, that is for me something that you definitely consider. But you look on the other side of things. They have this crazy streak going at the moment of 7 wins in a row. None of those maps go into double digits. And now they're up against like a better team, but on a map that they know they can play well on. They know that they have been playing well on. So it all kind of tracks here, this sort of mini upset. Now, if you win the whole series, that would be insane. You know, that would be a really, really hefty upset. And ShindeN will absolutely be kicking themselves. But we are back into it here. 3 in a row to take us to the OT now. As the long day factory might be calling, my friend, if we end up in another overtime hit.
I think you're potentially right. This is the round that really opens that door. Divine will open up proceedings. The jump peak for information. That's a loser's life. I'm just going to watch on from the grave.
Yeah, not ideal. Really not ideal. Just such a free one to give away. is, again, that AWP, you know? You just got to start to figure it out by now that they're going to try and facilitate the AWP as much as they possibly can. And just be aware of that. Be respectful of that. Molotov comes in, forces him back. Flash as well, and the nade. He's able to dip away, and a few decisions. You can see the cogs whirring. And he's like, do I take the repeat? Do I run for it? There's 2 more players on the A-bomb side itself, though, so man advantage still stands strong, and yeah, they're just going to get completely blindsided by all this. Not happening, as they were read like a book in the end. LP very ready for the A-hit to finish up. 13-9, are able to take away that first map, which, again, we expected they would be good, but I think certainly for me, the fashion in which it happens and the way in which it just felt like they actually ran the game is certainly surprising. ShindeN, the stronger side, the better side, maybe a few individuals on LP could match, was kind of what we were thinking, but they really played very well there.
Yeah, I'm actually really, really impressed by LP. They kind of came in towards this game, and I kind of thought they're slightly a puggier system that they generally like to bring in. Might just get exposed a little bit by the depth of ShindeN, but it wasn't the case. Real credit, their map taken, but it's Mirage up next. It's ShindeN's pick, which is a map they're very decent on, and LP have had their woes on, but with this kind of form, if Divine's hitting shots like that, who knows? For now, we're going to go to a break. When we are back, is map number 2 of Mirage. Welcome back. A arguably upset in towards map number 1. I mean, definitely on paper, but not in the way that it felt. It's LP, you take map number 1 off of ShindeN, and we're left with quite a few question marks, I think, Carve, off the back of that one. It just was simply very questionable by ShindeN. They squandered quite a few opportunities. A lot of chances were left missing, and now we really question heading in towards this Mirage, you know, being a puggy map and being a map in which, you know, it's very easy for a couple of superstars to shine on, that, like, this series could be in jeopardy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, we, you know, highlight ZMB here. I think Divine also deserves a shout moving into that second half in particular. Maybe the scoreline, you know, that he ended up with was not quite as high, but the impact on that AWP was really felt on the CT side. So, you know, some great names coming through. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to try and really get into the heads of the side of ShindeN, but there can often just be a lot of, like, looking beyond matchups in this region, let's say, that it's like, okay, we're going to win this one, should be fine, focus on what's coming next, or you know, focus on the next game that we have. And sometimes you can end up letting a map slip away. It does bring into question the series. You're obviously just going to have to be very careful here that you don't create like a monster, you know, of confidence and ability in LP. And it's Mirage, right? It's a map that we always say you just have to be careful on. So yeah, I think just not quite respecting their opponent enough on the ShindeN side of things, and it has cost them. And then they don't have enough experience on Ancient to, like, fall back on and try and recover and scramble to pick up a few basic rounds just to reset the momentum and be like, let's do this one that we know works 80% of the time. I just don't think they have that kind of playbook to lean on.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. So I'd be really interested with this Mirage. Like, all it will take is, you know, a pretty confident, like, pistol out the gates, and then, you know, maybe behind that, like, force buy, and before you know it, like, LP can start running away with the early momentum here, and before you know it, there could be a tough side to stop. And I'm really kind of worried. I mean, there'll be a CT side start, which I think actually might benefit the likes of ShindeN a little bit. Just CT side start for LP, that is, because I feel like Allison does his best work on T side. But, like, if you get Allison super confident, he's going to be playing a lot through, like, places like Connector and Short, like a lot of these, like, hero CT roles. If he gets going again, that'd be huge. If Divine can continue that form, like I mentioned yesterday, for him, he was really, like, not on his game, but with how strong he looked there, if you get a really solid CT side AWPer, like, before you know it, they could actually become in a bit of trouble once again. But I think more than anything, like, rather than the individuals towards LP, I really felt like we missed a lot of individuals towards ShindeN, right? I felt like, you know, we saw kind of a decent amount from Naz, which is kind of what you want, but he needs a little bit of support, and I think they're all non-existent, right? I felt they had a couple of riflers who were looking pretty solid, but aside from that, like, their firepower was pretty wanting from us. And I don't know, it's a difficult spot, because I just think that LP, give them an inch to take at a yard. Like, they are so puggy and they're so aggressive that they're always going to love situations like that where they know they've kind of got their opponent on the ropes. Yeah,
for sure. Hopefully getting into things quickly here, as I do feel like, you know, there is a lot of pressure on this one. The next map that, you know, may be required, maybe we lean that way and just play the shadow box, as it were, in Inferno. Really difficult map to split these teams on once again. You know, very high win rates and a lot of experience on it. So, yeah, something to definitely watch out for if we end up there. And, you know, ShindeN with some decent wins on that particular map. LP, the win condition looks good, but more recently it has been kind of hit or miss. So I think you maybe do need to focus on getting things done in 2 and very close on this second map if you are going to lose it, right? Like, a lot of work, a lot of fatigue mentally required for the ShindeN side of things. You know, it really could get messy here on Mirage, but like we always kind of say, man, it's just a map you have to watch out for, and ShindeN have kind of gotten frustrated, and I think a lot of difficulties for them on that first map could creep in here, and definitely worry that if they don't get off to a good start, the same sort of problems might occur from that kind of mental side of things. We saw, like, a timeout come in, didn't really work for them, and they didn't go back to it. You know, things like this just really kind of showing frustration in the end, I think.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they got tilted, I think, especially towards that tail end. They were checking out a little bit. Like, again, like these kind of like quite sloppy mistakes that we don't expect for a side of kind of ShindeN's quality. They really let slip through sort of seemingly for no reason. And in doing that, that's where you can worry about the mental state heading in towards this map number 2. And kind of furthering my point from earlier, where it's like, I just worry that if you get a strong star here, LP, that ShindeN will regress once again and go back into a bit of a shell. And so things can become really, really horrible to deal with. Looks like we're just waiting for these players to get ready before we can get the show on the road. But the big kind of talking point for us is just the fact that we're worried. And, you know, kind of touching on what you were just talking about a little bit earlier with the likes of Mirage, I'll say this every time it comes up as like a pick into a veto. Like, I always do get a little concerned when you have that Mirage, just because all it takes is kind of, you know, 1 or 2 individuals to really step up and shine, and before you know it, your map's in trouble. You're at a bit of a deficit, and despite maybe the T side being considered worse, you know, this is the second most T side map in the pool. Is seed side map in the pool. It's the like 0.2% more CT side than Nuke is currently.
Right.
So it's close. I think it's like 54.6 to 54.4 last time I checked. But it's just that worry I have, because I've seen some really good T sides from LP, and I think they've got the individuals to really shine on it, right? So this is the big worry for me. I am still concerned. ShindeN haven't proven enough to me at the moment.
No, that is true. And, you know, at one time, I think in Go, we used to say it was Dust 2 was like the great leveler, as it were, that you have to be careful picking it, and anything can happen on this map. And now, just because it's not been taken out, it's not been changed, and you've got like pro players who probably spent the first, you know, 2,000 hours of trying to get good at the game just spamming Mirage in 85% of their maps or whatever. So they're just so comfortable on it, even when they're seemingly uncomfortable. Nice little weight play here from Hap. Will be traded out. He's maybe slowed them down enough. Glock's looking good as the gaps close. Trying to find more and more heads. Scooty already on that angle. B defense has capitulated. And although Hap, it felt like he was in a good spot positionally, doesn't create enough. And he maybe loses the info as well, right? Because he's just blind and doesn't know what's going on. He can't quite call how many players are there, and are they fully just rushing straight in? And they were, of course. So, yeah, completely blindsided by the nature of the play.
Good way to start things off, though. That was the first couple of steps that we're kind of talking about, like, let's get a pistol, gonna force fire behind it, and then at least some of the initial worries are ever so slightly eradicated. Will be a force, no shocker on the CT side. It's kind of the meta right now, but going for a dive in towards the A side. ZMB going to be tested here. He's full blinded too. The Mac-10 about to clear his position. How has no one died?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, barely any bullets as well. ZMB will take one in the cranium just kind of on his way out through the smoke. So he avoids the easy kill, as it were, and then just takes a stray bullet. They're going to save here on the wrong bomb site. So no chance into this one. Just try and put up a fight in the next round instead. Makes a lot of sense. Just ends up being an anticlimactic kind of round here. ShindeN able to get number 2. But calls into question the third, and does mean that that early rifle buy is also going to be very, very stressful. Yeah. Not necessarily the easiest of rides for ShindeN in the next few rounds.
Yeah, at least they get to reuse this half bite. There's no point, I think, you know, sticking around and trying to find exits of any sort. There was no way they were really going to get away with that. Your CMB, who actually gets dropped the Eagle, in fact. So even he'll have something to work with.
Spread out pretty wide on the T side.
Yeah, a little bit of util as well. Like, I was going to say, did they save that for a retake? But actually, they used the smoke early.
It will make some decisions for ShindeN in a sense. But the bomb sticks around. So I think they want to finish on B. I'd love if they could use this ramp position they have at the moment on the A CT side. I think Divine will slowly start scaling as more util comes over. Other smoke deep in the apartment, so really keeping them at bay. Flash going to come in. It's an info play as we know it. Are they now going to start rotating? Certainly as the utility comes in. But look at the out of position CTs over here.
Oh.
Somehow still caught off by it, even though they had like the deep smokes and felt pretty good to at least put up a fight. It just doesn't happen for them in the beginning of proceedings over there. And another save situation here. I think ZMB might get a bit more aggressive, but the other two have got armor. So it's like,
yeah,
a bit picky, but they will indeed look to save it.
I think that's the right call. Especially just because of the armor. There's no real point losing that. One less thing to have to rebuy into next round. If they can. Naz is rightfully having a look with that Mac 10. You know you're going to be able to buy into us next round, so if you can find anything with that Mac 10 as well, it's good money to have in the back pocket.
Terrorists win.
That'll be that. Good smoke. That keeps them safe in towards Palace. So a 3-0 start. Not a lot to complain about at the moment. For ShindeN, obviously we had a lot of reservations coming in towards this map, but they started quite strong. And this is one that, on paper, does feel like a bit of a punish. It's just not being the smoothest of maps for this LP side. This will be the big test. First gone round, if this one can be smooth, then you'll feel a little bit better about it. They're sticking around for the fight. It'll cost them. Good timing on the smoke. ZMB under pressure. He tries to pop himself back out.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Have been stopped in their tracks a little, but the re-smoke, very smart and just good instincts here. Flashing at CT from both sides, really. They really do want to fight over there. Big win at the top end of Con. Costs a lot of HP. And they are forced away from CT. The T's, man, just getting really aggressive. Trying to track this player. Trying to get the late trade. It's a good angle from IVZ to work with. And maybe a chance at one, but it doesn't happen for Allison. Divine will be put under pressure and does not bank on the flank. So for a moment, they had us believe in, but the retake just kind of never really got going, it feels like. They didn't break into the site necessarily. And ShindeN were always in control. Chaotic, but in control. And they'll keep the flawless run going here now.
Yeah. LP. Worrying from what we've seen so far. Very lackluster in a way a lot of these rounds have come to fruition. Double MP9 and M4 is what they've got to wield in this one, but just struggling to get most of our players on the board, really. Leo 0, Divine 0. Best they've got is 1 across the other remaining 3. Is like he's going to get a molly down, but he actually wants to invite them into the fight because they know they've got support at range.
Weird bits of control, not overcommitting. Keep a player in the palace. Boost caught off. There's so much work done over on A there. I mean, you know, maybe you call off that boosting idea. Look at the lack of space that they have on A to work with, you know, and they really are just weary about Palace. A couple over faces from LP here, costing them the man advantage, so it's not really going to matter in the end.
Look down. Apple swing just as it plumes and catches one. An overlook on Allison. Should have 2 dead to rights here. Guess they're close, but cannot get the guy out far. Still the MP9 of ZMB doing well.
Just pick up. Just keep things in their favor. Yeah, again, they're in the ascendancy. They're in control. Even though the numbers come even. Just never really feels like there's a way in. Naz continuing his flawless streak, as do ShindeN. Neighbour's also there with him, but only 2 kills for him, so maybe just not quite in the fights as much. Nonetheless, LP, it's kind of competitive. I mean, it's just so messy here, so hard to keep up with, and they really are going to have to start pulling their finger out in terms of the one-on-ones, the shots landing. But we shall see. Allison. Advanced position up middle. Oh. Oh. Okay. He's up. Oh my god. What a play. What a play, dude. That's just so crazy. I mean, everything opens up on A, though. They're unfortunately unable to put up any kind of defense on the site itself. Allison's just going wild. Fails the jump twice. Breaks open the smoke. Gets the kill. Just genius, really.
Now it goes Hop. 6-0. They are flying through these rounds at the moment. ShindeN. Love and life in the server. What a response off the back of a lackluster map number 1 to be so comfy at this sort of position. And already, for LP, we're really quite concerned. Back into a bit of a half buy for them. Scout MP9. Another scout as well for Allison, in fact. Should be a 7-0 start, though. And in doing that, very worried indeed. So, I mean, at what point in this first half do we start softly turning our attention towards that third and final? Because this is a non-starter so far for LP.
Yeah. Yeah, the conversation might even start very, very soon. Ultimately, more of what we expected. I think just the Ancient is so good for LP at the moment. Really on a great streak on that map, and been a lot more one-sided traditionally, as I sort of brought up a couple times. 7, now 8 in a row, to be fair. But a lot of like 13-6, 13-4, you know, some really one-sided maps, and a bit more work against ShindeN because they are perhaps heavier hitters, but just LP being proficient on the Ancient, a merchant map for them, as we like to say, and I think we're starting to see now perhaps a bit more of what we were expecting, as LP just not able to match and gamble stacks and things like this. ShindeN are just really ready for it. It's another heavy save on a low buy, so it just goes to show that, like, yeah, you're buying, you don't have an idea for them. That's a lot of what they're about, you know, like,
yeah,
round you're expected to lose, can't full buy, so in the grand scheme, you are going to lose it. That's just generally how it goes, right? You don't have that economic level to match your opponent. So you go for something a bit in between to give yourself a chance at the unlikely round to try and, you know, create something to look for a side objective like taking a gun away or whatever. So if you're just going to half buy and sit on the sites like it's a normal... I guess they're gambling a little bit, but they're just not really doing anything that creative, and you're just not going to win like that. You know, you're meant to send 3 up middle or get aggressive into ramp, which they're doing here with the rifles, but they just have, like, no experience to work off of in this sense. They will get overlooked. But I'm just not sure if I'm a big fan. You can see the gaps opening up towards Palace, and they're just getting caught completely off guard. Too many resources in for this ramp play. Allison's got things to say, though. Finds 3 kills, able to survive it and keep a semblance of control on this A-bomb site. Divine with the AWP rolling in slowly. The utility has now dissipated for the most part. He does get smoked off. They've got a bit left just by virtue of Not expending smokes in other areas, but does feel tentative here, and Divine is ready for that kind of a move. Going to be down to Abiz. Maybe could have squeezed out the bomb plant, but opts to go for the fights instead. 1 versus 3. And maybe a world in which he gets this done. Elbow spotted. Was the low HP player as well, so a nice easy finish for him. But 2 more to get here.
He's waiting for an overextension. 30 seconds, though. He's got to make the move. I don't think he can recover this. He doesn't have the util, unfortunately. Tap to force out a fight, but Hap doesn't fully nibble, of course. His position's given away, and on the cross, caught by the AWP. Finally, a round on the board for the CT side to work with. Now, can LP build upon this? ShindeN, so much residual cash left over. They have no issues rebuying in. That'll be the case for the next kind of 4 or 5 rounds, even if LP win them all.
Yeah.
LP want to recover this, they've got to actually do it the hard way against 4 buys basically all the way.
Yeah. No mean feat. Maybe they can get it done. Good ideas in the previous round. Kind of an individual pop-off, though. Is that something you can call upon again? Break comes in. Lovely and clean. Trade is there on the AWP. And Divine, finally, it feels like having access to cash to get this AWP out a couple rounds in a row now and try and have some impact. Teammates get caught. Allison flustered on the move up to, you know, a different position. The remaining 2 CTs completely split in half. Just not looking good, and I think ShindeN might be back to their winning ways. With a missed shot. Stays alive. There's no one in at short at this time, so certainly stays alive. And they might think they're both together. Getting a little weird out here. The M4 finds a kill on A. Divine is not going to see this player, but then the player might not see him. Before stepping, makes the noise. And the shot does not land. What is going on here? The bomb's on the way. 30 seconds. ZMB still leaning A. It doesn't really matter, though. I think they needed that one, to be honest. IVZ catches a big kill. Molotov comes in. ZMB will probably just save it. And ShindeN back with a winning round immediately.
And our stuff. Immediate response, which is kind of like one of those real key things to get. Pressure piled on, but also yourself a nice little bit of breathing room just to make sure that rounds like this can stick quite clear for you. In a 4 vs 2, they never should squander around like that. They don't. ZMB, he's far enough away, they'll save. No issues as that timer goes off. IVZ just stick around just in case there was a late move, but yeah, it won't be the case. Up to an 8th now, and even if you get the remaining 3 for LP, still that big question of is it enough? The probable answer is no.
Yeah, not looking good, man.
Such a shadow of their former selves compared to map number 1.
Yeah. And this, I mean, in a way as well, it's like we talked about that Mirage, the great equalizer, you know, and all those kind of lines. And I think,
yeah,
kind of shows your baseline level. And I think obviously they've overplayed on Ancient because they just put so much work into it, and they're kind of underplaying on this map. And ShindeN are just abusing the fundamentals. Nothing too deep. The basic executes, the basic sense of, like, timing and things like this. Little bit of competition as the round plays out around my theory talk. Maybe a way back in. Find the dangerous pass hit. So that smoke goes down especially, but it maybe just worked out in his favour. And he does know there's a player in here. Good, clean find. And a flank brewing. So maybe LP with another round on the cards. Can't quite net that next. Oh, man, Naz, that is so risky, but so nice. And Divine is left in the one-on-one. Got good info. He could have softened him up. Doesn't really matter. It's the orb that needs to find it. And he just doesn't consider the angle. Naz has saved them. 2-on-1. Makes it look easy. What a swing from Triple, man.
That first shot in the 1 versus 2 there that he gets in towards the flank on Allison, that is fantastic. And then because of where that nade's thrown, he can see with the trajectory where he's coming from. He was actually considering that he was stairs, and he was looking like he was going to stay hard trained on stairs until that nade comes over, and then he realizes, oh, he's actually jungle. He's not got out. He's not moved from that position where he got the kill earlier. 9-2-1. But ultimate round of play here. 3 doesn't feel like enough. This LP side of being completely run over.
Reality setting in on this second map. Nice find from ZMB, though. In isolation. Furia by coming into play. Maybe, just maybe, this MP9 I can get things going. Oh, ZMB with the AK. Off angle for him, Leo Monster. Perhaps a distraction, perhaps not. ZMB finds another with that angle. The bomb is going to creep towards B here. Dink landing. But they have quietly abandoned it. Allison in at short. He don't fancy his chances with the MP9. He halfway spotted. Goodness me, Gucci. So quick on the sense, but they do spot him out. Another dink landing, by the way. So it's unfortunate these bullets are not on the same sorts of players, or a couple shots are not ringing off. Deep smoke comes in.
The flank.
I think ZMB doesn't fancy it. Yeah, the flank, though. He's by himself. It's become an exit position.
It's an exit, yeah. God, that is tough.
Yeah.
I think also half the reason behind it is because of that smoke that comes through in towards market window. Divine will get probably a couple here. Oh, actually. Here's the first. Not the second, though. Will he die to the bomb? Yeah, he will. Silver lining, quote unquote, not really. 14k on Abiz, 12 on IVZ, 10 plus on Fraguti. I mean, it's just ShindeN who are running amok right now. Having an absolute field day in the server. Where have LP gone after a really decent Ancient?
Yeah. I mean, showed some capability, and with a map like that, you have proved that you are capable of winning. It's just one of those things, again, like timeout, you know, really work out a round. We've barely seen any aggression from them. The one round where they did get kind of aggressive, they actually won. So, you know, things like this leaves a lot to be desired. Easy rollover on the B-bomb site with the push ahead of the execute. Would be a save. It's the last round, of course, of this first half, so gotta give it some sort of a look, but it's just not gonna happen here, guys.
Yeah, no way. Unless we get another masterclass round from Divine that we got once or twice in the round prior, but he's already dead, so forget that. 1v5. ZMB, they know exactly where he is. It's flawless, too close. 11-1 by ShindeN. Naz, 12 kills to his name. I mean, absolute fantastic showing coming through. And at this point, we are absolutely turning attention to that map number 3. But we do have a halftime break before we get into that probably very brief second half.
Scoreline tells you everything you need to know in this one, man. It has been such a one-sided affair, and I mean, even that feels like I'm saying it lightly. Really, really a non-starter for LP. I did mention they had the one round where they got aggressive. They seemed to have a game plan, and it kind of worked out for them, but they've just been receiving the rest of the rounds, just letting the attacks come into them and trying to make maybe solo plays or just receive and defend, but it's just not been working out for them. The shots that have been landed by the ShindeN side, absolutely out of this world sometimes. Some great rounds and a big clutch in there as well. Would have really only given you a second instead of just one round. So, you know, it's been a very, very tough first half, and I think it is probably set to continue here.
Yeah. Will there be anything in this pistol to keep them alive? It's going to be a very standard A-take, it feels, as Tom Ajed to open up proceedings. At least a quick trade that'll come through. And they actually will get the site with it, but the plant will come down on a numbers disadvantage.
Bomb goes down. Oh, flash coming in to try and get the numbers back. Not going to work. Guti with a quick two-piece, and he's traded out. And that, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, will ultimately be that. Winning out the pistol. Yeah. They do get the bomb plant. We're going to have to win a very, very difficult force buy here. Maybe a hero AK in there or something desperate like that. But, yeah, 11 rounds in a row going to be required by LP. And with such a heavy boost and just able to get on the board immediately, I don't think ShindeN will have any worries, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll be a very, very swift wait as we move in towards that third map. And so deservedly, like, ShindeN have run riot here. And you made the argument that Mirage and Inferno are more akin than the Mirage and the Ancient. So, I'll be more of the same in towards that map number 3. Trying to save face here a little bit. Doesn't start well for Leo Monster, as he'll go down. Already to Tom Ajed. Does take a tag, sure, but nice opening kill against the Galils. 4 of which are left. You know, Util, they've got a couple of smokes and 1 molly.
Slow build up here, to be fair. Looking to maybe take bits of control at a time. Distracting spam, but they've got a player in the window. Will this be snuffed out? Will they take the fight for it? And it seems like not really. You would expect ShindeN playing very reactively. Just where the noise is, where the kills might be. And IVZ does go down for his trouble, so numbers evened up now.
Is holding the walkout from Palace. Allison gonna find Naz. Oh, and with Divine dropping 1, there might be life left in this. Abizo's about 2 though, a top com player, and the fact that there's a guy in towards Palace, but surely dead to rights. And a second on the board by LP. Maybe, just maybe, a little bit of life. Long, long road to recovery. But it has to be an awkward force buy here for ShindeN. And opting to go for the force that we just saw, which is a force buy with prioritizing kind of full firepower rather than util, actions are working quite nicely.
And again, a round with a clear game plan. I just don't think they had any of that on their CT side, and they paid the price for it.
Yeah.
It is kind of where they outplayed on map number 1 was strategically, I think. And just not giving themselves the opportunity to do that here. On Mirage, will be a 1-for-1 trade. Not a bad start, though, considering ShindeN buy and good info grabbed off of a kill like that. On Ajed. Chance, but not able to capitalize. His teammate does. But now they know about Guti, and surely able to deal with him on this low HP. looking to try and buy some time. The nade would have had him, but the bullets do it in the end. And M4 with the dink, so a lot of damage done. Oh man, rushing the bomb plant here as well. The 5.7's going to make quick work of that. They do take down the M4 and lost track of ZMB, but that is, again, close, right? And it's only your second round on this comeback trail.
Yeah. Sigh of relief to get yourself into a spot where potentially we can start scaling back in a little bit. I mean, of course, that was a really low-end force buy. The fourth is a freebie here. Nothing to be scared of in this one, bar the couple of deagles, and one of which is already down.
Yeah, looking good, man. I mean, you'd expect them to be able to get around like this over the line, and indeed, they can do it stress-free. And I don't know, we might start that conversation around, like, if only you had picked up the sort of 4 rounds that maybe were on offer at one point when you managed to get around.
Yeah.
That certainly could come into the conversation here. It's tough to say, because you have, like, this... I don't know, we must come up for with a name for it, you know, like the Mandela effect or whatever, but just sort of the 12-round effect.
Yeah.
In the sense that I think a lot of teams can kind of lose sight of the finish line when it's right in front of them, especially at a scoreline like this. So it's like, are these rounds really that valuable for LP, or are ShindeN just sort of testing things and not quite locking in just yet? Tough to say.
We're back in towards the buy, or ShindeN. See it off. Flea Monster. Don't know how he doesn't get away with at least 1 kill there. The opener goes the way of the CT side. ZMB is sneaking his way out. But he'll lose his life for it. Very laboured. Same as well for Hap. I think finally, beginning of the end. And that is the case. Flawless to close it. 13-4. ShindeN massacre LP in towards Mirage and set us up now for a 3rd map of Inferno.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, really going to be tough on the Inferno, I think. Wake-up call for LP that maybe they're not quite as capable as they thought. Again, losing sight of themselves on that map, I think, and we can all sort of see that. Maybe even they know it, but just nervous to try and get anything going and don't really have much of a response. A little stubborn in their style on that CT side in particular. But ShindeN playing very, very well. Those individuals activating a little more from the get-go. And I think now the Inferno, although it's a bit even, I think things could get very one-sided once again if it kicks off like that. But we've got a bit of a break coming in. I think certainly LP are going to need it. And yeah, excited to see if they can answer back on Inferno, or if it's going to be more of the same of what we've just seen. We'll catch you in a few. But there's maybe a world in which kind of, and I think maybe just worked out in his favour. Going to soften him up. Doesn't really matter. It's the orb that needs to... Off angle for him, Leo Mons.
Oh, actually. So, forget that. I'll be back.
Flash coming in to try and get the numbers back. Not going to work him on this low HP. So a lot of damage done. Whoa, matching around like if only you had picked up out. I think finally, beginning of the end. And that is...
Welcome back. A very one-sided second map there as well. So we head in towards our decider. There's a moniker that we work with, which is all the best of threes are decided on Inferno. Now, generally, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek these days when we say it, but in this case, it could be very, very interesting indeed. Because of how much of a no-show we got there from LP, we really don't know what to expect, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a conversation around whether it continues. You know, obviously, ShindeN showing us what we were expecting on map number 2 for maybe map number 1 to look like. I think they were perhaps just not geared up, you know, not ready to have to push their level a little bit. And by the time they realized that they needed to, it was sort of over, or like they're playing catch up, and there is a difficult team to face off. LP just, really couldn't get going. And again, it's curious towards the end. And the one round on the CT half, I think when they had something where you can like, okay, I see what they're trying to do here, rather than just posting up and trying to win angles, they actually did find some success. So I think they definitely were their worst enemy a little bit. I mean, the shooting was also very, very difficult to deal with. So it's like, would they have won? No. But I think they could have stepped up to sort of like 8 or 9 round marks similar to ShindeN on map number 1, and then it doesn't look as bad. Could easily have been like a 13-1. We sort of, any rounds when it's like 12-1 and then you win a bit, you just write off at the couple of rounds that you're able to string together. They don't necessarily count. So yeah, I think a pretty dangerous look now for LP, and there is real great potential that it's just more of the same. The Inferno comes in as a map that they have like more reps on, slightly less wins, but it's one of those, again, when you start to break it down a bit. It's a win against Pain here for ShindeN, a win against Imperial recently as well, a strong streak for them, a 13-1 dotted in against Crashers. Some really good results recently on this map for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of the big picture that we're sort of painting coming in towards this one is that we're maybe a little bit worried. And I think as well, just mentally speaking, like how, if you're LP, do you bounce back off such a poor Mirage? Like, it's always a great map that we kind of call a bit of the litmus test of like how strong a side actually is. And well, they weren't very strong. I think it's kind of the big talking point, that we were so weak to come through, so off their game. And Inferno is inherently more akin to that Mirage than it is towards the likes of Ancient, which had the map number 1. So I'm very concerned. I feel like we could be to a point where that map number 1 is all they get because of how poor things look there for LP. And yeah, I mean, if they start slowing towards this third map, they're going to get absolutely decimated.
Yeah, a little bit of a look as we are waiting for things to get kicked off into this third map. But just kind of highlighting, you know, what we were talking about, and a little more condensed maybe than you would get over on HLTV, I suppose, which is usually where we lean towards. So you can kind of also see, just more recently what the numbers look like on Inferno, and not much of a swing. There's, you know, decent consistency from LP, but it's maybe, like I say, just over a longer term, over a longer period. So yeah, interested to see whether that comes into the effect here, and how they look for the series. And I think it's just one of those where there's a level that you get to where you can definitely compete and you frag well, etc. But when it comes to like the team play, that gap can be quite big. And I think that they just didn't take a moment, didn't take a breather, and just little things like this that you really would expect, like your game, your team game, to be built upon. That there's a problem. How do we fix that problem? We can't fix it within the flow of the rounds. We need to take a timeout, and we need to have some ideas. How do we throw in some ideas? How do we combat their ideas? You know, and there just didn't really seem to be any conversations like that. It's more same as you would expect in like your Face It pugs out there, guys, of just, I play triple. You know, like there wasn't much more to it than that. And I think if LP can't grasp that and can't see that, then they're probably in for a pretty dangerous third map here as well. Because Inferno especially is one of these maps where it's like, it just functions very, very differently at the pro, semi-pro level So if you play it like it's a pug, you are probably going to get rolled over. I think one of the reasons why it gets a bit memed and people don't like it is it feels a bit like a solved map at the higher ends and, you know, into the European Tier 2 and whatnot. And I think LP are going to have to be careful if they don't have that game to fall back on again. It's going to be difficult. Knife round won out by ShindeN, as you see. There's a little bit of a timeout, potentially. So, you know, small tech issues getting into things here on this third map. But ShindeN immediately in with control, and even just insult to injury, it's a flawless knife round to kick it off. You know, if it couldn't get much worse from the LP side of things, perhaps it just did.
Yeah, I feel like as well, you know, a CT side start for them, they can once again just completely kind of dictate the tempo. We have lost IVZ. Hopefully we can get him back in as soon as. But once he is in, then there we go. And we can show on the road with that CT side start, of course. And yeah, there's a real world. This could be another massacre once again for LP. They've had, you know, 10 to 15 minute break in between these kind of two, in between map 2 and 3 to just discuss. But I think you just got to mentally reset, you know, stand up a little bit, go for a little walk, get a drink, something to eat, whatnot, and just completely like mentally reset. Brush it aside and say, these things happen. This is a new map. This is a new time.
Yeah. But again, do you have that voice within the team to do that on a squad like this? We'll see. Fire one to get it started. The contacts up middle for the vast majority. Leo Monster having a look at Top Banana. Flashes come in. IVZ was fancy in the fight, but now not the case. Molotov comes around actually to stop the... Oh man, the bullets as well to just stop that wrapping towards B. He is incredibly prepared with the fire, with the shots. Got to be careful here, but of course the bomb recovery is going to be required from the remaining 2T players. Uh-oh. Not looking bad.
Hang on.
Key kills coming in. Might get dangerous for a moment.
Oh, good trade. Leo Monster had to go searching for information there. And he does, but he'll lose his life. If he finds that kill into his library, round's absolutely back on. But they get stuck. They take that control through brackets in towards CT spawn. And then they get stuck. And, well, because of that, ends up absolutely costing them. Opener for ShindeN. No plant as well. We will see the force spike come back in. A lot of teams go for that even without the plant. Leo Monster on a Lil. Back with his couple of kills. There's Tech 9s around him. Oh, and Ziabito pro proceedings. They're hunting this man.
Oh my god. Surely too slow on the smoke, even. Yeah. Just gonna go rolling through it. Down he goes. ZNB looking clean in this round. One back from the player at CT. But, I don't know. This looks really good. This actually does look very good. 4 versus 3 now. There is a kit available. And a lot of utility still remaining just because of the pace of the round. So, not entirely impossible. They are set up in the wackiest way with all 4 on this final line, this final wall. Really quite confusing to deal with, I think it's safe to say. Molly comes in. Oh, the double spray down comes in. There is that kit. If he can get on the bomb, it's going to be close. Can you get him off? No, you can't. I think he's got enough time to get the defuse in. It's awfully close, but he does get it. And that kit making all of the difference in the end. And man, the you know, lineup for the double spray down, just a wild setup that they try and gimmick. It doesn't work, and they will lose in the nick of time.
It's heartbreak. It's so close as well. No surprise that we see them go back into a force. It's very, very standard to do in a spot like this, especially when you get kind of the kills in the bomb plant. Force fire back in. You're so close in that one with lesser firepower that why wouldn't you go for it again? But wake up call for ShindeN. Can't take your foot off the gas. Almost spotted down towards half wall. I think Leo Monster makes a smart call of just falling back a little bit. You don't want to overfight that.
Nades are decent from ShindeN to kick off. A distractionary move in Banana, it seems, but then also a fake out towards A. They're losing a lot of resources to make this idea happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, they're even going to get the bomb down. 5 on 3. Gone back into Banana, hoping that B is weaker. Catch them off guard, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be the case. Well-timed Molotov. And there goes the whole sting out of your tail. Smoke on top of it. And now you have a conventional 5 on 3 with no element of surprise to deal with. 35 seconds in which to do it. ShindeN looks set for this first rifle.
Don't really know what you can do here. The remaining 20 seconds bar saving. You've got the bomb on your back, but you can't cancel and go to A at this point. So yeah, I think they're just going to shell up and save. And they will. Let's stick around and see if there's any rotation coming through from A. If there'd been like a quick kill in towards mid, that might have attempted a late push towards the A site. But they realize nothing to be had here. So GMB, Hap, and Divine will keep hold of what they've got. And they just reuse these guns in towards the next round. Leo Monster and Addison, you just force buy back around it and take a second crack at a force buy, but a 3-0 start. If ShindeN can find the fourth here as well, especially if they don't let anything be saved, then obviously with that fourth, the fifth comes quite naturally, and already that's that T side really struggling and the woes of LP continuing. So, bit of a damning spot because of how weird the financial situation is.
It's true. Nade is big here as well. So again, ShindeN able to kick things off very, very well. ZNB goes moving in to the apartments. Nobody around to really deal. It's Hapu's quick up long hauls. Kind of taking matters into his own hands. Going to eat another nade. Will go down. But he's created some panic for sure. A quick kill softens up A, and they're very, very split now, right? IVZ was all by himself there, forced into a fight. Didn't necessarily have to take. Flash is fantastic. Oh, man. And Tomajed delivers in a big way. ZNB, the only one left. I can see it from here, but he can't land those first couple of shots. A big 4K from Tomajed, just kind of out of nowhere, but the perfect flash.
Now that's where the econ is broken. You get a bit of a half bite of the few players who had a little bit of money to work with, but you're sticking around kind of that 1.5 grand mark so you can buy into what's next loss bonus as it's maxed out now. ShindeN up to a fourth, the fifth. Should be relatively simple here. IVZ is spot one crossing towards Banana. These are being thrown over as well. They've taken top Banana control quite quickly here, but a Molotov will slow them down.
Yeah. Now trying to wind back up seems to be their problem. Heavy apps presence here. Could be interesting. They found limited success from the apps, so maybe just feeling because there's a lack of defense over here that they can do something with that. Well-timed smoke. It's going to slow them down massively, but the smokes themselves from the T side still get going. So they've got a lot to move through here, and it's not nice. Not nice at all. Not what you want. And they go straight into the meat grinder. One for the Tech 9, but that is all. And I just feel, you know, as that smoke comes in, you gotta cancel the utility, right? But they still went for it. They burst through the smoke, and it just makes those kills a lot easier.
Five and 0. First true full buy in round number 6 for LP, but God, it's such a must win. Like, you consider map 2 into map 3. It's been a horrible run of things for a while. LP are getting clotheslined so consistently. Naz. Playing in that corner. That flash from Divine is fantastic, though. An easy opener, but a Molotov behind it. Leo Monster will take some ticks as he wants to keep that pressure on. Tomajed back sight. He's met with a Molotov. He'll reposition. He's surely dead to rights here. This miss nade doesn't help at all. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yep. Sure of that. Definitely dead. As is the round for ShindeN. IVZ opts to stick around, actually. Ooh, wait a minute. Okay, he does go down through the smoke. I like the idea of the bait run away to just force them to chase you. Works very nicely to take a couple of guns. Ends up being slightly costly. These are all long-term plans for ShindeN, of course, but they will look to just immediately buy and answer back. A wacky one again for the T side, but on the board a lot earlier than Mirage this time.
Something on the board for LB to build upon. They go quick here. Very punchy T-side round, but it'll work against them. 8 damage that comes through as the ZMB and Allison, and then, of course, the kill onto ZMB to make it all the more worse. Nice find from Allison. Tomajed will get a freebie, though. Break on the smoke. No one crossed on towards the site itself just yet. Tomajed is under a lot of pressure in towards Pit. Leo Monster, a quick trade on towards Naz. Gotta know about him. How has he not got the kill? He'll pull out the pistol to see it off, and now he can get a reload off. All on Divine, 1 versus 2, but he scoops to the bomb. He could actually run to B here.
And he's slowly doing that. Weary of someone a lot closer than they actually were. But he'll beat the traffic to B here. Able to pick up a smoke as well, so... Yeah, they come in from Banana, but they are pretty late. Oh, okay, actually, Tomajed moves back towards CT. Bruv, I don't know. It's a wild idea. You're not getting away with this, and Divine has managed to absolutely just demolish them there. Really no chance. Very loose from ShindeN, I think it's safe to say. Trying to net that 2 versus 1. Had plenty of time. No need for these unlikely plays, but... Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
It's a bad round to let slip. Maybe slight overconfidence playing in. ShindeN's money has run dry. So LP should... Operative word, but they should be getting a third on the board here. It's not too expensive, that's the main thing. Body shot onto Leo Monster. Let's be careful now. Let's not make a round like this too expensive. There's not really that much to come against the other side. A Biz will jiggle out and he'll spot one. He knows about a second as well because there's 2 players fired at the same time.
Just waiting for the move. Expecting some kind of aggression as they make bits of noise on A. Correct kind of call. Tomajed does eventually face, but he's got that forward position. Maybe they expect another player on B. Doesn't really matter though. Leo Monster, he's going to do one of 2 things. Scale up in and discover nobody's home. Or I suppose look to join the team on the A hit and... will be the latter, kind of the one I didn't want, because that's where the stack is for these pistols. IVZ goes early. 30 seconds left in the round, man. I feel like you just really dedicate to the stacking idea. Not give them any more kills. They really are walking into this trap now, but there's a lot of early swings, very excited defenders. There's not a lot of time here, guys. This really could have worked out in their favor, but they just face a bit too early, and then there's not enough bodies to overwhelm in the end.
Well, round that doesn't offer up all too much, but back into the bye, a 2-round game. And LP at least showing a bit of fight here. We didn't see any of that in towards map number 2, so no complaints at all. Finally get a bit of competition back from LP, but it's Naz to open up proceedings. Takes a fair decent amount of damage to the util, but opening kill found, and they've locked out top banana.
Yeah, maybe something to work with in that sense, but there's just such a wall of defense on the other side. Molotov kind of forces a decision. And I thought for a moment they were setting up for the classic flash in, but not quite the case. Maybe on the other side you sell the idea of a weaker defense and they need those forward nades to keep you at bay. Quick find. There is this boost though. The smoke not good enough to deal with it. And the booster swings round for another. Still only a one-man advantage though. Still feels kind of brittle here for the CT side. They have to be careful.
CMBO here, these rotates over. A good spot, just being in towards water. One will go down, or a tap on towards it, trying to bait out a fight, and well, he does bait a fight, but the fight works against him. Hap has given them a chance. 19 seconds for him as he now crosses on towards the site. Need to bank around. It could do a decent amount of damage, but it only does the one. Tap on towards that plant again. This time a stick is just as the C4 goes down. Will make the round work. It's pretty damn close. A good effort by LP, but not good enough.
Yeah, and back to it once they're able to maybe stabilize. I mean, it does come a hell of a lot closer than... Honestly, it should, right? You're one to the good. You've got 3 on the site. And they walk into you with no funny business. Just like very simple stuff. And I don't really know how you don't clean that up. Lose one more player from there kind of thing. But should have been a much more one-sided affair. So ShindeN really back to the Puggy style again. Just trying to outgun LP, and I think it will work, but it's just not the cleanest sort of style. And this is what you were saying at the top of the show, that it's like against a better team, I think they will be punished, and they've maybe had some success recently against slightly bigger names because they're not expecting it. It's this kind of relentless, like, surely they don't push this, surely, and by the time you've figured out that it's like, okay, they're just pushing everything and, you know, peaking everything, you're maybe a few too many rounds behind. And they take like a map off of you or whatever. But yeah, it's certainly a style that you can just immediately poke holes in if they're not better than their opponents on a mechanical pound for pound level. I just think here against LP that is mostly the case.
VZ holds the angle. Once the smoke phase, his boost is pretty strong. If there's someone holding to us long, but it's actually not how Tomagen wants to play. He's a lot further back. There's 4 players to A here. I mean, Faguti can pretty quickly rotate back to B if required, but Naz can just sort of keep chaining utility. IVZ... Open proceedings. Faguti will reclaim that space. He'll get a kill. And in doing so, scoops up a gun. Naz will get caught upon here. Waiting for the steps. Then swings out. Could have 2 dead to right. Missed shot with the AWP when he pulls out the pistol. Naz has seen this one off. And the last man of half with 5 seconds left. All he can do is save. Really, really nice round from ShindeN. Only the 1 casualty.
Yeah. A big moment from Naz, honestly, because for a second or 2 there, he was kind of the lone B defender. I think rotations were on their way pretty pacey, but they could have broken in and, you know, get that round reset with like a lurking presence at middle. But yeah, you see over here, for a fairly substantial amount of time, if they'd have taken him down, probably a bomb plant. and it looked like Guti was actually going to try and send it through that smoke. So, you know, imagine what could have happened. So he's done a lot of work in dropping those two and staying alive, which sometimes we do argue on the CT side that's just more important. Like, just having the threat of a kill that could happen, or the spam through the smoke or something, can be more valuable than actually just trading 1-for-1.
See, be mollied out, but you can very easily get out. They don't actually hold the molly. IVZ getting active. I don't hate this. As long as he can fall away. Only issue with this, you're against Tech 9s. Very likely to hard swing that angle. Actually falling away. Nice shot from IVZ. And that might even be information that they are retracting. Naz is here. Got a smoke as well. Double pumping. They're going back towards, they say, site, or so I say. I mean, Leo Monster, yeah. I mean, he's going to draw attention away, but IVZ can just stay posted with the AWP. Second time of asking, will find his shot. How about the third? No. Swing and a miss. And a split to B. Tomajed is here. Should be dead to rights, and it is to the hands of Naz. 8 already for ShindeN. And the chance at a 9-3. There is money to buy back in here for LP. On this T side. But this has been very similar to that Mirage. Very one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, the odd round being picked up. We actually have a timeout coming in here going into the final round of this first half. And LP, it feels maybe the first timeout of the series. There might have been one over on Mirage that we just didn't quite catch because it was all just so blurry in the end and one-sided. Yeah. But, yeah, just a little too late, but at least there is something in it and they can try and pick up the serviceable half here with the 8-4. But yeah, ShindeN, I don't know that we've seen them dig super deep on this one. Just still playing the rounds out, relying on those instincts, relying on what they've practiced, and so far, so good. Maybe slightly dicey in the early stages of the half, to be fair. But they have started to separate themselves pretty well. Naz does find the opener. Looking for another one as well. He's greedy. He's bumping into somebody in that smoke, and he will get dropped, actually. So suddenly the B-bomb site is very, very vulnerable. A quick wrap around. Tomajed smart for it. And drops that player. Man advantage secured before the bomb goes down.
Bomb has been planted.
Close. Inside of this smoke. Two about to swing round the corner from Coffin. A lot of util in towards New Box and Dark, and they get no response. They should know that this is a pretty stacked water play. They didn't know he's on the bomb. I don't think they realized it. I don't think they've realized it. And IVZ's going to get 2. ShindeN steal away the 9th at the tail end and make it a 9-3 half. A fantastic run of things from them. And despite LP having a little bit more fight in them, that is simply not a good enough first half. We'll have to see, but this could be a very quick end to the series after the break. Second half about to get underway, and well, we don't really know how much of a second half there is going to be, to be honest. A 9-3 first half by ShindeN, by all metrics, should be more than enough. And to be frank here, Scriv, if they get a pistol, surely it's just the beginning of the end.
Yeah, definitely an agreement here. I think the ShindeN side of things, we have seen that higher level of them. Maybe took them some time to get going into the series, but just the power of the entire 5-man unit really has definitely come into question. Not like the highest fragging game, actually, as you look across the scoreboards, but I think just putting those kills in better places. A heavy fight, speaking of, from the CTs here, as they get 4 players in and around that middle area with aggressive pushes coming in. It starts well, but where's the exit strategy on a push like that is the question, of course, and the Glocks will adjust, stabilize, and win out their fights on the trades.
Oh, little monster. Catches Naz up close. 2 versus 3 with IVZ pretty low. I can't say that I have too much faith in this round being converted. It would have to be a pretty generational fumble to let it slip. Oh my god, that's an insane shot by Allison to catch him jumping out from apartments. And LP start the half well. Nice pistol, only a couple of casualties. No complaints.
It's true. It is true. Could close the gap. The old 9-3, 11-4, 2-0 of Counter-Strike for any football fans out there. I don't know. Are there any other sports that you can think of that's like, I don't know, the first place of F1?
Yeah, like starting on pole in every race that is in Monaco.
Yeah, starting on pole, okay.
Yeah, every race is in Monaco.
Like a basketball scoreline, maybe?
No, not really. Basketball is kind of crazy. I watched my team get battered by the Celtics yesterday, so
Unlucky.
it's a sour spot. Speaking of football, though, half the we got Lincoln City.
Yes, I saw. Yeah, got the like playoffs secured. No matter what.
No, not
Are they going up?
Guaranteed up. Yeah, by getting they need to win today.
Damn.
So they guarantee promotion for the first time.
I thought it was
25
playoffs.
years.
I saw a few videos and stuff, and I was like, surely not. You know, going up this early. Quite a long while to go. That's like 4 months early, no?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Especially for the lower leagues, because the playoffs like take a while.
I swear I read today it was like if they win today, which they did, they guarantee going up. They beat what was it? Was it Reading?
Yeah, Reading. Yeah. I'll have a look. I'll have a look. You know, you cast the Counter-Strike.
Yeah. I'm like 99% sure. I swear I saw someone tweet about it, but you can have a look. Oh, no, I definitely is. I can see them celebrating promoted 2026. Big up.
Oh, okay. All right, well, there you go.
Big up the boys. Anyway, towards this first gun round. Oh, a missed shot from Divine. Good reaction. One for Guti, but the second guy, Tom and Jed, that is an incredibly quick shot. Apple get one back. They're trying to swing on towards Allison. It's a nice nade. There's a pretty decent crossfire they've got to break down here. Allison's still stuck on top of Cold Zero box. He'll get 2, and he very nearly transfers it to the 3rd. Bomb be planted, and a difficult 1 versus 2. Give this one a go, though, with your ZMB. You've got money to buy in towards the next round, so you surely give it a go here. He's looking for an upgrade.
You would think so.
To his left. I don't know if there's an AK down. Oh, there's an AWP. Okay, maybe he actually saved the AWP.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense, but ShindeN right back into the winning ways. You know, once things come back to normalcy as it is, the quote-unquote proper Counter-Strike, they have looked very good and able to hit the double digits. So, worried for the prospects of LP. And one of my pet peeves here, this is certainly an exit position, not necessarily a saving position. IMO, a bit close to that bomb site, but they're not going to hunt super heavy, so he will get the AWP out.
Double digits, 10-5, close to that finish line. But Monster goes for the peak. Holy moly, will force him away. It's actually a nice gap for Divine to work with there. The smoke is just covering him. Why they want to go towards B. That's a nice time on that smoke as well. And that'll force them away.
It's the AWP for me. Ready on that corner. They are actually going to drop it back, though, as the smoke comes in. And 1 A smoke. ShindeN just waiting to see what the response looks like. It's actually a boost up, so
yeah, nice
they will pay the price for some very flat defaulting here. Not really holding their angles, looking for those types of moves. They lose control of the round, potentially. They don't have a lot of ground to work with, but man, LPR so reactive. A flash and some spam, and suddenly they're sold on B again. So I don't know what to make of it. 30 seconds, vulnerable A bomb site. Gonna have to defend it well.
Oh, Divine flashed off the angle. Second time of asking. Gonna be called upon, and he hits the shot. Swung. A plant will come through ZMB. He's gonna respect the smoke. 2 versus 3. You got a smoke moto and a molly in towards short. This is really bold by a Biz. IVZ also, he spots the elbow. He spots the elbow! Wasn't calmed, or didn't actually fully spotted it, but it looked like he would, but he's put himself into a 1 versus 3, so maybe it was all for the aura farm. Now into the 1 versus 1, looking for a quad clutch. Has a flash. He's not contemplating long just yet. Now he is. Head spotted. IVZ trying to buy time here. I don't think he's bought enough of it. With that kit, there is enough time. ZMB will just about see it off. He couldn't quite stay alive.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like he's just not quite fully aware. I know he gets like 3 kills, but obviously sells his teammate down the river and then sticks himself out, which I feel is pretty... maybe it's not super obvious. Like, if the player kept moving, but I think you're just putting yourself in harm's way a little. It's safe to argue. Either way, we'll see here. Could be a big round. LP forced the low buy. There's a hero AK, some pistols around it. And then if they find the next rifle, I mean, suddenly we're actually looking at a game that could be on here.
Hero AK. A few upgraded pistols. Oh, okay. Naz is full running there. That is ridiculous. Oh, and Tomajet's got another. B-site's open. They scale quickly. They're going to realize no one's here.
Uh-oh. Yeah, this is the danger. It just feels like ShindeN are always going to be capable of these rounds. Love the facilitation of the Hero AK. Now, the HP bars are really quite low here.
It's just
at least on
damage
average
is the only thing.
Yeah, but they don't know. They don't know. So they are indeed forced into the save, but it's just not going to be winning the map if you're losing rounds like this, guys. This is the problem, especially so late in the day. And I think ShindeN one step closer to winning out that series and staying alive in the lower bracket here, of course.
Allison, deep on the X's or catch Tomajan. I mean, he was so low that he actually really had to hightail it out of there. But what a force buy. 2 win for ShindeN, up to 11 now. 2 away from the map and the series. And booking their spot in towards that lower bracket final. And this is now or never, really, for LP. With those saves, they buy back in. All fine, apart from Leo Monster on towards the MP now, but even that can still be a little scary. Divine going to go aggro. Spots nothing. Second mid-fight. So Leo Monster opens up proceeding. The double nade from him and ZMB will find now to open up proceedings.
Yeah, it could be a workable opener. Divine with the AWP always, you know, raises an eyebrow after that first map performance. A lot of utility expended, and LP will force the move towards A, at least by the looks of it. They call it the push and pull of Inferno. Quite a popular phrase. And indeed, it does mean that they could easily circle back towards B at a later time. Looks like they will go mid, though. Flash comes in. Allison's the big one. Does he get overlooked here? He's so blind from that flash. I think they only soft-checked him, to be honest, but the flash gave him nothing to work with. And they will roll it over. Abyss with the walkout of balcony through that smoke is absolutely brilliant. Despite the strong start in Banana, they are able to overwhelm A.
Yeah, it started well. But it falls apart so quickly. CMB will scoop up an AK. Leo Monster, I'm assuming he has an upgrade there. The fact that he's on a pistol, or is he going to pick up the M4? Map and series point now, ShindeN. Might be something on the exit here. I think ZMB probably wants to tuck just to keep hold of that AK more than risk losing it in a fight that is useless because it won't have any effect towards the finances. On ShindeN's side. 12-6. Second tack call.
Get overlooked here. Him, to be honest, with the flash. Nothing to work with.
Oh, man alive. The road to recovery is next to impossible.
Yeah, agreed. Certainly feeling that way. Timeout comes in. Again, we're hearts in the right place, but just not quite executing them well enough, you know. It does feel a little bit too late here. Maybe needs to come into the previous rifle that you've just had, potentially. You know, that was your sort of save the game moment, but maybe more of just like a financial conversation. It's almost like a very practical timeout, you know. You just literally need the time to get the words out because there's a lot to talk about, rather than trying to figure out a round and come up with an idea or keep people's heads in the game. But we'll see. Still always a chance with a buy like this. Lot of nade damage there. Can they capitalize? Wow, Naz catches that. What an angle to have, eh? Really solid. And Tomajed with the opposite idea goes flying in. Yeah, to potentially start seeing this one off. The apps push What is bro doing over there, they might say, but unfortunately that was kind of the only idea that the A players had. And it's the B boys that let them down a little bit. Gruty does fall. Never right a 5-7 off, but he's traded nicely, and yeah, there's just way too much ground to make back up here.
Van Allison, the last two flanking up through Banana. They're making noise as well. Shoulder spotted. Abyss for the first. They don't expect the second, but they should now off the back of that util. They're still, I think because of the spam through the smoke, they didn't actually hear that flash pop, but it doesn't matter. 13-6. ShindeN reverse sweep and take the series 2-1. Brilliant. Brilliant work from them. And book their spot in towards that lower final. This is exactly what we wanted to see for a side of this kind of caliber and quality. Brilliant work. Yeah,
absolutely right. If they are, maybe indeed a little bit, they are wanting to compete against those, you know, higher level Brazilian teams, which at the moment it feels like it is doable. The higher end of the Brazilian scene has sort of dropped off a little bit. On the international stage at least, so maybe they are feeling beatable these days, but ShindeN are a team that can maybe start gaining ground as they come down, and I think maybe tighten up the game, maybe get some more discipline. They're as yet to be fully punished for this style, but I think certainly they are looking very good at what they do. It's just a conversation about, you know, maybe future seasons and whatnot. We start to lock some teams in, though, to the prize pool here, as LP will indeed bag themselves $1,000. Nothing to shake a stick at, and I think maybe come back into a future cup and try and place a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly that. And we can take a look at the brackets as well off the back of that series and see where things are panning out. I think I'm right in saying that it looks like Crashers also picked up a loss. Yeah, they did. 2-1 to Pain Academies. That means that we do have that lower or consolidation final, however you want to put it, set up with ShindeN Pain Academy. Winner will be taking on the loser from the upper bracket final as well. So only 3 more games to be played here in the South America Cup number 3. We can take a look at the upper bracket as well off the back of, another cool day. But that game hasn't been played yet, the Unamil and Fake Dubiru game. That will be played over the next couple of days. Those remaining few games, we've got that one, we've got the lower bracket, and of course then we've got the grand final, and then, you know, technically like the consolidation final behind it, I guess, for third place. Prize money can make a big difference for some of these kind of more like tier 3 teams. Regionally getting invited deeper in towards other tournaments. What they're really vying for, of course, is that first place, is that chance to go to the South America Finals Cup and potentially get a spot in towards Pro League. But after a bit of a marathon, we are done here with South America. There's still one more game to be played out tonight, as North America in their Cup 3 will be happening just after this. That'll be Vincent and Wino taking you through the reins of that one. But for myself and Scriv, we are done for today. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure from ourselves and production. Take care. Good night. I'd read.
Try and draw them out here. I mean, 2 sets of Julies in the kit. You feel like so ready for the scrap themselves. 30 seconds.
Can they play it at the same level? Just a big thing. We're having a little look towards.
Out. Awful, really. And you see what happens. Now as Divine is sight. To play the long game on this one is insanely late. But of something coming behind, will have. Would be correct. Oh!
Opens that door.
Players on the A-bomb side itself, though, so strong, and yeah, they're just going to get completely blindsided by all this.
This will be the big test. She's won and overlook on areas, but
and I think.
Oh, actually.
Oh, flash coming in. So a lot of damage done. Whoa, man. Now not the case. Molotov comes around, actually. Yeah. It's going to go roll to deal with, I think it's safe to say. Molly taking matters into his own hands, going to get into a fight. Doesn't necessarily have to take flat around for ShindeN. Just to stick around, actually. Ooh. Tom and Jed moves back towards a wild idea.
Quiet, but no proceedings for Guti. Waiting for the steps, then swings out. Could have 2 dead to right. Away. IVZ can just stay posted with the 80 move. Operational fumble to let it slip. Oh my god, that's an insane. There's a pretty decent,
looks like,
angle. What didn't actually fully spotted it. You upgraded pistols. Through Banana, they're making noise as well. Shoulder spam through the smoke. It didn't actually.